right, hello and welcome to another Tuesday edition of FPV Your World. We've got an awesome guest lined up for you guys today. This is going to be a great show. We've got the goofiest co-host waiting to come on. Let's bring him in, goggles and all. E.T., go back to your home.
Hello, everyone.
And Koala, welcome in.
Howdy.
I wish I could input the video signal into my goggles and do the stream in goggle.
There you go, you could.
That'd be funny.
Oh, what a weenie.
How you guys doing?
Pretty good. How was your week?
Not too shabby.
Awesome. Anything new? Anything changed? I've heard you changed jobs recently.
Yep. That's one new thing, but haven't been flying. I haven't flown in, I don't know, probably about a week or so, maybe 2 weeks now, actually. But
shameful. Shame.
I know. I did try out lipo on the 7-inch though, so that was cool.
Oh,
nice. I had to rebuild my 5-inch 3D drone, so that's ready to fly probably tomorrow after work.
Nice.
And fixed up my little 2-inch ducted drone, so that thing's gonna be ready to fly again with a run cam thumb on it, so a little 4K camera. So that should be pretty dope. Well, she gets good footage off of it. But
I smoked a motor. I smoked a motor this week. That was fun.
You smoked a motor on
I
your
thought
new
it was
video?
No. I think it was like maybe the end of one of them, but yeah, it was already having troubles, and I punched it, and my drone just fell out of the sky. No more motor.
Oh no!
I just reached the end of it. It was already beat up, so I think I just asked too much of it.
That's too much. Feels too bad. Oh well.
It plummeted out of the sky.
Motors. If you need motors, let me know. I've got some extra 5-inch motors you could probably use. But let's bring in our special guest here. We've brought him all the way in from Canada. We've got an all-Canadian panel today, guys. That's the best part.
Yeah.
Let's bring him on in, Mr. Hugo himself.
Yay.
Hello. Welcome.
Welcome in, Hugo. Yeah, good to have you, sir. We all fly pretty much with TRUERC antennas. That's definitely a fact along the line everywhere that I've known, even in the hobby of planes and wings and stuff. So give you a big shout out and thank you very much for all the work you guys do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I would tell everybody how great they are.
Yeah, once I switched to TRUERC, I could never look back. So
right.
Yeah,
totally. Why don't you go ahead and just give yourself a little introduction of who you are and where you're based out of, obviously in Canada, and how long you've been in the hobby.
Well, my name is Hugo Chamberlain. I'm owner of TRUERC. TRUERC is 10 years old now.
10 years.
Just about 10 years old, yeah.
Very cool.
Based in Quebec, in Quebec, in Rwanda, Quebec. I've been flying for 13 years. Yeah. So I seen the start of the hobby. So
yeah, you saw it before cameras went into it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Or FPV was even FPV.
Yeah.
It was all just, line of sight.
Lawmate receiver and PBS wasn't even a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
wow,
amazing.
That was a long time ago, man. You're dating yourself.
Yeah.
What is your background? What got you into making antennas? Are you an electrical engineer or
No.
some kind of
I've been
TV?
I learned the trade of I was a switchyard technician. So it's an automation technician. So I work in automation and switchyard. And my hobby was always been RC from my young age. I was into RC electronics. It was my hobby.
Right.
And then when FPV came up, I was like, wow, I'm gonna try this. So I tried FPV and started to make my own helicopter and planes.
Mhm.
There was not much of a antenna back in the days. It was like, little stick antenna, and not even patches were much available. So I read online tutorial, make my own patch just for my own, FPV thing. So I started even, designing them on a computer software, like for an
Mhm.
SE2. I don't know if you know, it's the
Wow.
software for
No.
AM radio, for people like amateur radio to make their own design. So I started, using this and exploring the rabbit hole of antenna.
Wow.
And
Very
so
cool.
I made my own design for my own, and I showed this online, and sharing tricks with others. And wow, people ask me if you could make them some. So yeah, makes sense. And can you sell me some? I will buy them. Okay. So I started in my basement, whipping out antenna, and then retailers wanted my antenna, and so okay. And it became a monster. Today I have 18 employees, and we
Wow.
make 20 to 25,000 antenna per month.
Wow.
Holy.
That's a lot.
It's a freaking lot.
Good job, brother. Good job.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I was wondering how big the business was. So you guys, because you guys do all kinds of antennas for video transmission. Not just FPV. There's a whole another section on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah, control and
Very
videos.
small.
Yeah.
We're a very small part of his customers, that's for sure.
No, actually, no. It's still over 60%.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not
Cool. FPVs take over the world.
Yeah. There's
awesome.
retailer that order 1,000 antenna at a time. So
Wow. Pretty neat.
it's just for FPV.
Yeah, one thing I thought was really cool, as a Canadian myself, just finding out that TRUERC was a Canadian brand, that was something that like I've only been in the hobby for a couple years now, and the way that I got into the hobby was actually through a friend of mine from the UK. So my first antennas were like Menace antennas, if you're familiar with Menace antennas, and yeah, then I saw a lot of the Canadian guys had TRUERC. And yeah, I was like, well, got to support Canada, and it's really cool that it's a Canadian thing. So
yeah, I like that. It's nice to not deal with customs and markups from other retailers. I can go straight to the horse's mouth for my antennas.
Right.
Yeah, retailers are an important part of our system, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I tend to always push people to our retailers, because retailers can offer sometimes better service than we do. I still always keep the B2C aspect on our website to sell direct to people, because I like to be in touch with the customer, so I know their needs.
Yep.
And it gives the opportunity to make custom antennas.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So yeah, people approach us to may have, let's say, A or Y or B antenna for off the shelf, and they explain their problem, and I can make maybe something better just for you. So and it helped me have better products.
I thought that was pretty cool. I remember.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah. So to go back to the story of TRUERC, so I started in the basement, and it was like a company, or a company / hobby, and it became bigger and bigger, and my wife started to help me out making the internet first, and then your website, it totally sucks. You need something. And she was right. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I made it myself, and it totally sucks.
Right.
So
was it a MySpace website or something?
Yeah. So
then, right?
She did what she's good at. She take a person and hire someone to design a website. and that's when the TRUERC logo changed to the logo we have today.
Oh, okay.
And that was when pretty much the real beginning, let's say, of TRUERC. When we changed to this image, this logo over there, it was pretty much the day TRUERC was born.
That's cool. And is it sort of like a maple leaf based sort of thing? I always wondered about that.
It's a maple leaf, folded like a bird.
Like a bird's head.
That's the yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
That's why I like it.
I always like it.
You know, for the first few years, I had no idea which way because I would get a sticker and I'd put it somewhere, but I would be like, which way does it actually sit? And I'm like, oh, wait, I have to look at the logo on the computer because I'm not sure.
It works out both ways.
Because it does look like it should maybe go upside down, too, at one point.
Usually, the bird, it goes with the letters TRUERC. And with the C, the curve of the C, you see the movement, and it kind of comes together at this point.
Yeah, the TC in it. Yeah, I like that too. Very cool. Very cool.
So, I guess out of curiosity, just from a design standpoint, was the logo something that you designed like in house, or like someone you knew, or was it just outsourced?
It was outsourced to a local. A local website design shop that had some great people, and they made this logo, and it was the first one they showed me. So they studied my previous website and our story and everything, and they came up with this, and awesome.
Cool. Yeah, it's awesome for sure.
That is really
fun process.
Well, and that's the whole thing too about like branding and logos, like that. Everybody sees that logo now and they know TRUERC, whether or not it says TRUERC. So it's very, I was just curious, just from a branding standpoint, how it kind of, what it evolved from. So interesting.
Yeah, that's very neat.
Yeah, the logo is simple enough that you can kind of draw from memory. So it's an important aspect of being a logo,
Yeah, and it's not very close to anything you can think of either. Like some people's logos, you can kind of see different designs out from another logo, and other ideas and stuff. But that's kind of, you can't really pull anything from that, really.
Yeah, very unique for sure. Yeah.
Hey, welcome in, Kevin Sumner, Bad for Life. Everybody in the chat, thank you all. We got some cool folks in the chat. Videos lined up. If you guys have any questions for Hugo, feel free to drop it in chat. I have to make that tab for y'all. But got this really awesome video here to start off with from Danzilla, our awesome co-host.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Finally posted a video. That's just me having fun mostly in the yard. My July highlights.
I didn't see it yet. I didn't get the notification. What the heck?
What the heck?
Oh, I turned off notifications for you.
Where does Hugo see FPV in 5 years? That's a good question.
Oh yeah. Are we gonna have 8K video?
I'm not sure about super high bandwidth 4K. That's possible, but that would be you fly alone because you becomes a bandwidth hog. But there's new band new band opening on the 6 to 7 plus gigahertz. Yeah, you reduce range, but you can have 60 megahertz channels, so you could potentially have 4K live FPV feed. That's totally possible, but I'm not sure if when you look at a fixed image in 4K, you can see the detail. But when you are at speed, it's all kind of blur because your brain just cannot process so much detail. So you just get some kind of tunnel vision.
Yeah.
So I don't see. It sure sounds good. It sure sounds good. 4K, 4K FPV feed, that's awesome. But I'm not sure of the actual practicality of it.
Well, I agree, especially on such small screens as well. It's almost, 4K resolution. If you really want to get the true detail and whatnot, you need a big monitor, right? So on such small displays, I mean, I fly analog and I think it looks great. So
what could be cool will be some kind of fisheye camera, like an Instacam. You got a 360 vision, and so you have some VR goggle, and so you have kind of head tracking, but without any moving parts.
Yeah.
That would be a use from 4K. So you have like maybe a HD field of vision, 180 field of vision, so to speak, within a 4K bubble of actual. That would be very immersive. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I bet you I was gonna say, I bet you the guys who fly wings would love that.
Yeah.
Big time.
For sure. Oh, that is cool. Now you got me.
I don't know if you could pull that off within 5 years though. It's possible.
It'll be DJI that does it.
Or Mario FPV. Mario has been working on his 4K setup, open source, and it's getting better and better. But I have no idea what he's using on, how expensive it's going to be to set up yet. But I mean, it's progress into that kind of spectrum. Have you seen Mario FPV's stuff, Hugo?
Is it an open IPC?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. Well, it looks pretty cool. Yeah, definitely, it's come a long way in the past couple of years.
You have a nice OSD. You can, it's. I think it's nicer than what you have with adding an OSD to the DJI currently.
Yep. Yeah, I remember. So I do another stream with some British guys that's on YouTube. It's called Let's Drone Out. And I remember we had Mario FPV on a couple years, or it was either 1 or 2 years ago now, before they actually had the dedicated hardware that they designed. And even just in such a short amount of time, it's gone so far, and so much improvement already.
Yeah, I'm super curious on like his setups and stuff, and like what he's using, for antenna wise and everything, right? Like he would have to be using some kind of different goggle, some goggle module or something, right? So yeah, it's pretty cool. Super cool.
I missed that. Who's that? Who are you talking about?
Mario from Open IPC.
Oh yeah.
And that 4K.
I was wondering about his goggles.
Using. Yeah. So that will be another person we'll have to grab on, put on the streams, and eventually,
for sure.
For sure. We'll keep the conversations going. Definitely, I don't want to stop any of the questions and stuff, but I gotta throw some videos in here while we hang out. This one's a brand new one. Our friend Danzilla.
Nice.
That's me.
That's a cool picture, man. I like that.
Oh, it's just AI.
Ooh, you found yourself a construction site, eh?
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. There's a big crane here too, so it's funny because I always think I'm a way better pilot when I'm in the goggles, and then I watch the video back, going, "Oh my goodness."
Ooh, nice.
I'm like, yeah, that was awesome. That's my first Matty flip right there ever.
Oh, no way. Good job, man.
I got under it. Wasn't the prettiest, but I figured I better put that in there.
No, that's the best place to do them for a first time because you have so much space.
It's nice and high. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a lower spot here in my backyard, and I've mowed the grass so well in that spot. I have spanked down at the bottom of that so many times.
So this is a 5-inch, I guess?
Yeah, this is just my 5-inch with a 03 camera.
Nice.
No GoPro. I just it's just easier. It's lighter. It's faster. It's
Doesn't look like you need one. It looks like great image quality.
Hello.
It's okay, Heinz. We got your back. I grabbed one from your channel from today. Keep on ripping, buddy.
Sweet, man. That's like a fun little
Yeah,
spot.
the 03 is amazing, man.
That's all you need on a drone like that.
Yeah.
Well, Danzilla keeps losing connection.
Huh. Maybe he's flying too close to these cell towers.
There he is. There's back. You're back.
Yeah,
man.
I'm back. Yeah. Yeah, I was nervous at first, the cell tower, but it didn't do anything to my drone. Nothing. None of my numbers dropped. No problem with video. I don't know what everybody's going on about. I could fly near that thing all day.
That is one thing I wondered, and maybe Hugo, maybe you have a bit of insight on it. So you always hear about people saying to sort of be careful when you fly near big towers like that, right? For control link, I guess. Any idea or any insight on which frequencies would potentially be more sort of interfered with, or?
Yeah, I don't think it's 900.
Yeah, that's 900, which could be potentially affected. You know, because those towers, they don't carry things like 2.4 or 5.8. They are for lower frequencies, like, you know, 900, 400, and below.
Right.
So Crossfire would be maybe not the best idea to fly near that.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah.
I've always seen those types of towers, and I do fly Crossfire, but I've just because of the things that I've heard, I've been like, maybe I won't test my luck.
Oh, I was nervous flying up to that for the first time. I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna have to go get this drone, and I flew a big circle around it, getting closer and closer. Like my first battery, I didn't do anything except test signal, you know. And I'm like hovering right beside it, going, "Oh, I'm fine. Dive away."
Right, yeah. I know when I was flying Crossfire near a cell tower around here, it wasn't a problem. But when I was flying FR Sky, the R9, it was still. I mean, it was FR Sky, but the R9 system was still 900 megahertz. It was it fail safe all the time. Anywhere near it, it was like looking at it. It was like, oh, fail safe. It's like, what?
Yeah, R9.
I see in the chat, guys, Curtis Hayes, he asked about an integrated antenna and tracker. That's something, you know, I came up with. There's a video by Stewie FPV.
Okay.
And it's pretty epic. Yeah.
Oh, Stewie, the downhill. Yeah.
Stewie downhill. Yeah.
We got the famous EBR.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I actually I'm waiting on a couple of those new Volterra ESCs. They're on their way to me right now from Netherlands.
Ooh. Dutch ESCs, eh?
Yeah, well, technically not. I can't remember where LiveU FPV's from because he's the one who made the ESC, but they're shipped from Netherlands. Yeah.
Wow.
For some reason, I thought Live FPV was Ukrainian, but I don't know.
You know what? I'm trying to remember now, and he used to do a lot of stuff. Or he used to do a lot
of the war.
Honestly, I can't.
Somebody else.
I don't know. I mean, he's definitely European of some sort. But I would be lying if I said I knew.
Just lie to us. Just lie to us.
So I guess Hugo, do you get out and flying often? Are you still into the flying aspect of the hobby, or?
Not as often as I would like. It's like once a month, maybe.
Yeah.
I have a couple of small quad that I go and rip when I go to camping and such.
Yep.
Nice.
You know, I really miss flying my airplane long range. That was really fun, but you know, it's more setup time. So and they need they need some love. So and I don't have much time. So
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you're a busy guy. You said you have like 17, 18 employees, right? So.
Yeah, I'm sure they keep you happy or keep you busy, rather.
Keep you happy.
Keep you busy.
Like I said, it's nice problems to have.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, now that I think of it too, I'm not sure if you remember, but a while back, and I won't be offended if you don't remember, because I'm sure you talk to a lot of people through email and whatnot all the time. But I was actually curious, the change from the old style barred pole antenna to the new style. I'm curious why, or I guess I'm just curious on the design change and what sort of was behind that choice, I guess.
You probably mean we have a barred pole with an SMA.
Yeah. Oh yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
The SMA was right at the base.
Yes.
And many people was finding it too short, meaning the active element was still too close to the quad. So I changed it to something with some kind of a feed length between the actual element and the SMA connector. So we added some 6-7 centimeter between the active element and the SMA to push the barred pole 900 megahertz elements a bit further away from the quad.
Right. Makes sense.
Makes sense.
So just interesting.
An extension.
Yeah.
I've used both now.
I've used Romanian.
Oh, I think Livy, that does sound right. Romanian, yeah. I know it's kind of like Europe, Eastern Europe, sort of ish.
Dracula country.
Yeah. But I've used the old style. I've used the new style, and I still have my quads, and they still can be in control. So that's good.
Exactly.
Good old Bob.
I think.
You think?
Yeah, I love Bob's little era. I was just saying maybe Hugo should make inflatable antennas. So if I crash in the water, my drone floats.
Actually, I made some custom antenna that are waterproof for an inflatable quad.
Oh wow,
interesting.
Yeah.
They would have to be.
I think my antennas are.
Because
I think my antennas are pretty much like the singularities are pretty tight. I don't think there's much to worry about those. I always put a bead of super glue around mine, and then I shrink wrap the head of it almost up to the seam, just to protect it from snags. I don't think any water could get in there.
No, they're pretty much well sealed. There's glue in the bottom, and the top is sealed with ultrasonic.
Yeah.
Hugo, have you ever thought of making a transverter so all the people flying analog who totally have a ham radio license could use more ham frequency?
I don't know what that means, but it sounds interesting.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it means a converter to switch your analog frequency to another.
More frequencies.
Well, while I have some, technical know-how about, transmitter and receiver, I'm not enough to actually design them. We're into antenna only, and that's enough job for now.
Yeah,
I would like to, add more of these products, starting with just analog transmitter and receiver, but. Yeah, it does only so much time in a day, and even the antenna. I have many antenna that I don't release because I don't have time to care for them, so to speak.
So I guess the question is, you're not going to be making VTXs anytime soon either.
No. Well, I tend to never say never. but in the short term, I don't see it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Totally. That's a huge step in another direction. Any chance you can tell me why I get about 1,000 meters out, and almost every time I start losing signal, I have FCC hack 50 megabits and seem others get 10 kilometers plus DO3, and I get about 1,000 meters.
That's the age-old question.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Do they use a stock antenna, or they have a quad that use pigtail?
Yeah, it depends on your antenna setup a lot.
Yeah.
Well, can
the O3 is pretty good, man.
Or?
Yeah, the O3 is pretty good, but often with the problem I come across very often is those pesky pigtails. Okay.
Right.
The pigtails is a small UFL wire that comes from the O3 or whatever VTX you have.
Mm-hmm.
An SMA female that is fixed to the board. Okay.
I always skip those.
The long antenna is kind of heavy and it wiggles in the air like this. So the pigtail is flexing just a little all the time. And usually, and at this point, the cable that enters the female SMA breaks, and then you lose contact.
Just replace that.
Yeah. You need to fix, the pigtail better, or have a stress relief, or best of all, not use them at all.
Yeah.
And everything you add between the antenna and the VTX is going to introduce noise or signal loss, right? Like, so we have a pigtail extension.
Yeah, it's more of a reliability thing than signal quality. Most people think that an adapter is gonna cut your range in half or cut your range in, but it's in fact it's very little. Pigtails or adapters, it's kind of very little. Yeah, the thing is reliability that could be a problem, especially with pigtail that convert to UFL to SMA, and they use some kind of a cable that is too small because it needs to fit a UFL connection, but too small for an SMA, so they solder it, and when you solder the cable, you render the external sheet, the shield of the cable, fragile, and it frails and breaks. So it's a reliability problem, really.
Interesting.
That is interesting, yeah. And I guess because of there's so many different types of or there's so many different pigtails, right? That the quality of what you're getting matters, really. Yeah. Because I know
different.
Like there's the little thin black ones. There's the sort of pink, thicker ones, and I mean, from what I've been taught or what I've been told, you want to stay away from the thin little black ones. But I don't know if there's any truth behind that. But
no, there's thin pigtail that can be good. The main problem is when they solder the SMA to the cable or otherwise fix it. If it's not well done, then you can have problem. Yeah. So if XCFPV got a kilometer of range, then even if you've got a FCC hack and everything, it might be like his VTX have no antenna at all. Because there's a broken pigtail or broken antenna or something like that.
Yeah, breaking the connection is more of it's a physical issue more than most likely, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the VTX is getting bad then. At that point, if everything else is brand new, then I would go the VTX might be just pooping itself.
Yeah.
Well, if that's an 03, that's not good news.
Okay, you got TRUERC, user antenna, and dual antenna, all three. Okay. Yeah. Being our right hand or left hand on the both ends is kind of important.
Yeah. Yeah, making sure you're on the right polarization, right? Yeah.
It's a new 03 and new antenna. Wow.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah, that's the first thing I would check would be the connection. Try getting rid of the pigtail for a while.
I'm not sure if he used pigtail or directly.
Yeah, he said he had pigtails.
Yeah, you have pigtail. That would be something to look. You can easily test the pigtail with the ohm meter.
Oh yeah.
You just check, continuity between the SMA body to the VTX body, and if you have continuity, it should be good.
Should be
And
good.
you can test them for short circuit as well.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, one thing I always found interesting was how the popularity of short stoppers and stuff or smoke stoppers in this hobby, when a multimeter is more than sufficient in
it's the same thing.
Giving you that information before you plug in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe his thing isn't unlocked. If he's getting the same range as he is with the stock antenna, maybe it's just not unlocked.
Yeah, the 03 needs an arm switch, right?
To boost the power up, right? Or
yeah. Otherwise, it's low power, like bench power, so to speak.
Just like 25.
Yeah, it would say in your goggles, though. It would say in your goggles, though, doesn't it? It says in my goggles before I arm, it says 03 is in low power. It would give you a heads up, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it does.
And I don't get 50 megabits per second when I'm in low power. He said he gets 50 up into a kilometer and then it drops, which makes me think that one of the antennas is broken.
Well, he said yes, low power mode. So I'm wondering if he even has the switch set up to boost up. Then when you arm, it goes full power. Okay, never mind. So
okay, so he's got that's correct.
Because that's how I have it set up with my analog rig. Is like when I'm disarmed, I'm just at the lowest, base
pit power or whatever they call it.
Yeah, just like 25 milliwatt. But then once I arm, then it goes up, and which I think is that's a pretty standard practice, I think, as far as
saves everything from overheating.
Yeah, you don't want to be testing on the bench or doing stuff at full power.
Try changing channel, Lexi. Just go to a different channel.
Yeah,
look at the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah. That really sucks.
I get 50 till I hit 1,000 meters.
1,000 meters, then drops like fly.
So what I'm curious about is if he's testing it in the same place every time. Like I'm wondering if the location has something to do with it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, so that's why I'm saying
just
change channel. Yeah, maybe that will help a little bit.
But it does seem odd because if it's full power and it's the best antennas in the game, then
best antenna they won't change the noise floor.
That's right.
No.
Maybe directional antenna because they can point them away from noise, but usually you don't know where the noise comes from.
Yeah, you don't know what's being blasted out, right?
Maybe your neighbor has an EMP.
Here's a good question, Kevin Sumner.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've noticed most linear antennas for RC receivers are half wavelength on the active element. Why half? Why not full wavelength? How much loss by going to a 1/4?
Because a wave is a wave goes at trough, and then there's basically two cycles in a wave, one positive and one negative. So you have half wavelength to capture all the power of one cycle, of half a cycle.
Right.
Okay. Otherwise, the other will cancel out what you're doing. So
Gotcha.
So, so you use an antenna that is half a wavelength.
Okay.
Actually, for one cycle, basically, right?
Yeah. Actually, 2/4 wavelength. Okay, that are opposed to each other. Okay, so you get
how it lines up
all
in the
the
wave.
power from the climbing cycle, and then all the power from the dropping cycle. See, so basically a dipole is, you know, two elements, one that pushes and the other that pull. See, so it generates an alternating current. Yeah, that matches the frequency you're at.
I think I know what that means.
Yeah, what you could do is have, you know, a full wave dipole will be two half wave dipole that you can connect end to end, so they stack up.
Right.
So you get double the power, but only in certain directions. So the dipole, the antenna become more directional.
Interesting.
I guess it's all it's balancing everything. Performance.
So I guess I'm not sure if you maybe answered this already, Hugo, but I know you said that you were into like planes and sort of like RC stuff before you sort of started building your own antennas. But how did you gain all the knowledge and I maybe you touched on it already, but I'm just curious how you learned all this stuff and how you gained all the knowledge into sort of perfecting your craft.
Well, it's basically by doing, you know, science and reading about on paper about antenna.
Yeah.
You know, antenna development is more of a science thing than an engineering thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of information in academic paper that you can get online. And, you know, back before Facebook was a big thing, there was those forum like RC group.
Yeah.
And I was hanging out with old man Mikes and, you know, a bunch of ham that, you know, we share
but the ham
information.
Those ham guys are crazy.
Yeah, they are good. And so I started using 4NSA2, making simulation, making my own antenna, learning from my error. And then I got an SWR meter and I tested, and, you know, I basically try stuff, and I try stuff, and I found out.
Trial and error, basically, right?
Yeah, basically, and searching the web, getting problems, solving them, you know, trying anew. And a few years ago, it's already 6 years, I got a full finite division time domain simulator. So that the real stuff to design antenna on a computer. So that's when I really stepped up my game. So you design antenna, make a design, you can simulate it, and the results are pretty damn accurate.
Wow,
crazy.
So you make it and send it to a lab to be tested, and you see what's wrong, what's different with your simulation. And it's not that people say the simulation is never the real life. It's just because you don't feed it the right data. So when you get a real life test, you readjust your simulation, and then you start over with a better model that you add.
Yeah.
So I've learned, you know, by doing, by you know, by the trade. Yeah.
Playing around.
That's cool, man. And
science.
And it's solely based out of your own interest, just being interested in figuring this stuff out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
It's really great. You know, you design all this inside a computer, and then you make your first prototype, and it is exactly as
it works just like that.
Not always.
That's amazing.
But when it does, it feels great. Yeah.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. It's like you have an idea, you figure it out virtually or plan it virtually, and then when it comes to real life and it actually works, it's like big accomplishment, I bet. Yeah.
A lot less testing and hassle.
Yeah. Well, I was also curious. So, and it's kind of a random sort of side question here, but outside of TRUERC and running, you know, and researching and making antennas and flying, do you have any other sort of like interests or hobbies that are like completely unrelated to this stuff?
Yeah, I like AUC, electric unicycle.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are fun. Yeah, I've actually chased a couple of them with my drone. They're pretty fast.
I like running, making off-road trails.
Yep.
So I got one of those big unicycle. You do like 40 kilometers an hour in the wood.
Wow.
It's cool. It's super fun. And in the winter, I'm skiing.
On a unicycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, electric unicycle. Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
And you said in the winter you're skiing?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah. Mount Tremblant is one of the best places to ski in Quebec.
Yeah.
I was going to say you live in Quebec, so you're lucky. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only mountain in Canada. Well, in eastern Canada.
Well, the eastern 3/4 of Canada.
Yeah.
Unless you go way north.
Well, what is it? Is it the Appalachians? Is it or
no?
The Laurentians.
Oh, Laurentians. Yeah.
Going back to geography class, grade 7.
Yeah,
that was a long time ago now.
Yeah, I had the
coloring in on the maps.
I had the Asians part right, but
yeah. Get the Asians part right. That's funny. I had a question for you. There's something that popped up in the good old store of AKK. They make a lot of VTXs. I actually use one of their VTXs. They're 3 watt for long range on my big 7-inch drone.
3 watts.
Performs amazing. But these guys came out with this, and it's pretty controversial, pretty funny little silly thing that they came out with. This is a dual antenna VTX. So this one supposedly does left hand and right hand. Your thoughts?
Well, no, because it is an analog VTX. Okay.
Yeah.
So you send 2 waves, and not really at the same time or any phasing that is taken care of. So the two waves that may not go in sync, and they may cancel each other's at time.
Right.
Or add up each other at other time. So that doesn't work. And because of this, it's called constructive or destructive interference. And on an analog VTX, you can't control that.
Right.
So even if they use left hand and right hand to kind of separate the two, most of these Chinese antenna are basically linear. So forget about it. Yeah.
Right.
So it's just kind of like
from the horse's mouth.
It's a marketing, I guess, maybe, or
it's a marketing gimmick. Yeah. On a digital MIMO, multi-in, multi-out system, they can have timing between the multiple antenna. They not necessarily transmit all or receive all at the same time. It's kind of super fast switching. So, and because of this, they can decipher between a signal coming from antenna B versus the signal coming from antenna A, and actually carry more bandwidth by using making better use of the spectrum because of this. But you need super fast digital processing, and an analog transmitter is not that. It's a continuous wave. So you cannot do that.
I like that they support both smart audio and tramp. It's awesome.
People still use it. You analog guys.
Smart audio and tramp and right hand.
You just pick whatever in that ports tab. You go right ahead. You just pick one.
So on your receiving module, then what you just have 2 different ones then too, or
maybe. Who knows?
Uses it for backup.
Another question that kind of comes off of that is, I heard people say that antennas can wear out. The connections, say the SMA can that sometimes wear out? Is that a real thing, or is that like so many lifespans that it's like?
Yeah, I think for the hobbyists, that lifespan is pretty long.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Even if you remove them multiple times a day, not sure. Yeah. I use at the shop, we test all the antenna. So imagine the connector on the tester, how much cycle it sees, and it's like we change them it's well over 1,000 cycle.
Okay,
that's cool.
So
you'd have to be really abusing it to see a sort of detrimental. Yeah.
The only time I broken one, and it was my fault. It was a bad crash. You rip it out.
There's some connector like the U.FL that wears faster, but the connection will still be good. It's just that it will pop out easily. So, but when it's connected, if you were to glue it, that would be fine. It's just that mechanically it will not hold tight, so it will just pop out by itself. But
that makes sense. Yeah.
RF wise, it is still okay.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, because I know somebody, one of my friends, he always, every time he's done with his drones, anything, he takes all of his antennas off, everything, and like puts it into a case. And I'm like, I don't know. I heard somewhere that you really shouldn't be taking your antennas off that many times, like over and over like that. Like, I don't know, just keep the antennas on it. Like, put it in a box.
Nomad Aerial in the chat says SMA connection are fragile and can wear out. So yeah, it depends on the
connection disconnect.
There's many brands. There's maybe some type of plating that is thinner, some type of alloy that is cheaper. I don't know. We normally use
depends on this
connector. Yeah, it may depend on the type. Yeah,
the supplier, the manufacturer of the part.
Yeah, possible.
Well, with my 7-inch quad, like if I'm traveling, I mean, I gotta take my antennas off to get on, to get on a plane, and I'm packing my stuff up. I go to different spots. I mean, basically every time I fly my 7-inch quad, I have to put my antennas on, whether it's my barred pole, my VTX. I mean, obviously my Immortal T will stay on there for my diversity, but my 7-inch quad. I mean, it's in my closet right now, but it doesn't have its antennas on. I have one of those little GoPro containers that holds all my my antennas.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I've got the long singularities on my 7-inch, so it's not going in any bag with those things sticking up.
No.
The female parts of the SMA is the edge of the connector is fragile. If you drop it, if you hit it, it will bend, and then you can no longer screw on and
and you can lose the ground that way, I guess, as well too, at some point, right, from the antenna.
Yeah, not really lose the ground, but just mechanically you cannot insert them one into another because the female part is bent or dinged. Yeah. So
I actually had a really
I said female parts.
Leave it to Nomad to turn it into that. Yeah.
No, I actually world.
I had a really bad.
We've been actually well behaved today.
Yeah, we have. I was gonna say though, I had a really tragic moment with my one barred pole where I was actually testing return to home for the first time, and basically in the process of me testing return to home for the first time, I mistakenly confused my return to home switch with my disarm switch. And I disarmed from a very bad place, and my quad ended up being fine. Everything was fine, but my barred pole, the actual the little thing that you twist, that just like the whole thing just snapped off, like the SMA connector part there. It was in two pieces in the end, and I was
no, so sad. It's a small price to pay, though. You didn't lose the whole quad.
I was lucky. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. I was very lucky.
It probably saved it. It probably crashed onto the barred pole, and the barred pole acted
the barred
as a
pole
spring,
broke.
Just like
it broke the fall. It broke the fall.
So strong.
It did its job.
I guess out of curiosity too, with the whole, like, I don't know my full history on it, but barred pole itself, is that a brand, or is that a
good question.
Bard was 4-guy. Okay.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember all their names.
Yeah.
BERD was 4-guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I wish to remember the name. I will eventually. But and they flew long range together, and they had some kind of team.
Yeah.
And they asked me for a end feed antenna for 900 megahertz. Okay, to replace those, Immortality that have, questionable quality or questionable, spec.
Yeah.
Because, but I will get into that later. But so they wanted a Endfire type dipole, so a straight dipole with the cable exiting one end. So I designed it for them, and since we kind of designed it together, they wanted, this was their idea or their needs, and I named it the Bapole.
Cool.
There you go.
Yeah, because I remember when I was like looking it up, I remember in the description of your on your website, like Bard has its own sort of like logo, and I was always just curious about that because I'd never really seen that name before. And actually, it was Marcel off Axis that put me on. Well, him and Falconrad were those were the first time I'd ever seen that type of antenna before. So it was it was very cool.
It's a type of sleeve dipole. Like many regular dipole we say, but it's made flat. So it's a planar version of a sleeve dipole.
Yeah.
So being flat, it's smaller, lighter, a bit flexible, great for quad. So, and it is not affected by the position of its speed cable. Because going back to the Immortality is some kind of T. You have the active element and you have a cable. Cable is attached to antenna, and there's no decoupling, called ballad. So you don't have a dipole, you have a tripole. You have two elements from the dipole, and the third one, which is the cable, because the cable is attached to the antenna, it won't irradiate. Okay. So when it radiates perpendicularly to the antenna, then the wave produced by the cable are not so bad because they are not in polarization with the main element. Okay. So you want vertical polarization, you have it, and you have some horizontal polarization from the cable, and you can maybe ignore them. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you feed your T like this, and then you start to have problem because you have two antenna, like the VTX you showed earlier.
Right.
You have two antennas that start to cancel each other in some direction.
Yeah.
So you may have to start to have hole in your pattern. Okay. So if you see someone placing a T vertically and try to bend the cable alongside it, that's generally a bad idea.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you need to keep it a T as long as possible. Okay.
That makes sense.
Well, I remember I used to see, if you look back at like old Mr. Steele videos, he would do like a custom, like whip antenna, or like the, the
Immortal L. I remember.
Immortal L. Yes. Yeah.
And
is that kind of what you're talking about? How that's kind of like not what you would want to do, or is that different?
It's an Immortal L is still some kind of T because the cable is perpendicular to an element.
Gotcha.
What you don't want is two elements that are parallel, like the cable goes parallel to an element.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't want that because one, it will couple a lot more with the element, so the cable will start to radiate a lot more, and then you have more interaction between the cable and the element.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool. So on my 7-inch, I'm running obviously the barred pole and Immortal T on my Crossfire, and I'm running my Crossfire obviously like the horizontal, and then the barred pole is just kind of sticking up out the back. That's obviously, I'm guessing, the preferred way. You wouldn't want to have it so that the Immortal T or Immortal L or whatever the hell is facing the same direction. You'd want it, cross, right?
You want to have the polarization diversity. And speaking of that, there's a question in the chat about this. Hey, Hugo, can you talk about cross polarization, right?
Yeah.
And if using a combo and a VRX or VTX is superior.
Yeah.
It's a very good question. Okay. Let's start with analog, for example. Obviously, on analog transmitter, you want one antenna on your VTX and maybe multiple because you got diversity on your receiver side. Using like a cross-polarized system could yield some benefits when you have lots of non-line of sight, lots of obstacle, because sometimes the cross-polarized setup will behave a bit better when there's an obstacle between the two, when you're not line of sight. So depending on your diversity receiver, you could get some benefit. Okay, it's not like night and day.
Right.
Yeah. On the digital multi-in, multi-out, like DJI, that we have 2 or 4 antennas, it sounds good. It sounds good because those multiple multi-out system use they use a differentiation by distancing the antenna, okay, to get enough separation between the data stream. And in theory, you could put even more distance by using a different polarization. Okay. However, that's the theory. It is done on certain MIMO system, and I believed it until we made experiment. So along with what's his name, the guy in Australia, is a dev on ELRS.
Long range guy.
Wesley.
Yeah.
Wesley Hardy?
Yeah.
Marty.
Yeah.
Marky.
Oh, Mark.
Yeah, and we made scientific tests. I sent them antenna that were cross-polarized and other that were the same polarization without marking them. I had a mark that only myself knew.
Right.
And as I sent this, do a test, blind test, so try to stay scientific. And he did the test, he sent me the data, and there was no practical difference.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So,
sneaky.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you have to you almost have to do it like a sneaky test where it's like, okay, here's these things. I'm not telling you what's what. You tell me what results you get, and then that's how you get a real result.
Real blind test,
Yeah. Yes. With the years, I know I have to. I have a bunch of people that helped me to test.
Yeah.
Many people want to do that because it's great, it's fun, they sometimes being too enthusiastic, and they sometimes maybe want to tell you what you want to hear, or maybe
totally.
It's part of a human nature.
Yeah,
for sure.
So,
to get accurate results, you almost have to keep it that way.
Yeah. Even high level science, you gotta do those double blind tests and everything, because even the most, geeky scientists in the world will still have some bias within him. So
yeah,
so that was
placebo
good.
is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
I read a thing recently. They said that especially in North America, I guess it's a cultural thing, that they have a hard time developing new pain drugs because the placebo effect is so real that it messes up all their tests. Like they actually have a hard time doing proper tests with new pain
yeah.
meds.
Your perception
but
can
it's
play a huge role.
It's mostly Americans and to some extent Canadians, but in the States they don't do the tests anymore because they can't get clean results.
So it looks like Nomad actually wants to know this question. So Hugo, can I use an end-fed full wave for 5.8? Do I need a balun or an unun? I don't know what that means, but
A balun is balanced to unbalanced.
Okay.
Unun is unbalanced to unbalanced.
Gotcha.
I think he's being saucy.
Oh, he's joking.
Yeah,
I
knew it was. I knew it was suspicious. I was like, "What? What's he going on about?"
Yeah, we can't expect anything less from Nomad. Nomad is always.
I thought he was actually. I thought he was making up words.
No, actually not. A end-fed dipole would have a balun, because if you pass, the coax cable within one element, you create a balun. Usually,
Okay.
So we automatically have a balun. If the lower element is like a tube or something to pass a cable inside, you create a short. You create a short at the frequency of the balun, so you effectively choke the cable from the antenna. If you have an end-fed that is the lost in a 90-degree connector, they are indeed a bit lossier than straight. Simply because you can actually see higher end 90-degree are not 90-degree; they are like a curve. So they skip, being really straight. But it's
use your 45s.
really small. It's really small, even at 5.8. The connector, the 90-degree connector, that are ion that you see that are curved, it's for like 20 gigahertz and up. It's ion stuff. It's super expensive, so it's not. But it is true that 90-degree is a bit lossier. It's not really losses; it's reflection, because the impedance is not properly matched, so there's more, SWR losses within a connector like this.
Did you want to start on that a little bit for the rest of the show, the VSWR conversation that we were talking about earlier a little bit? Since we almost jumped onto that, but that's kind of what you were talking about with the loss, right? Am I correct?
There's two type of loss. There's more than two, but two principal type of loss. There's the ohmic loss, which is basically you circulate current in a cable, and that cable heats up, and there's loss because of that.
Right.
And at those high frequencies, if you want to transmit power from a source to load, you're gonna match the impedance of the source to the load and to the transmission line between them. So if those loads are matched, like you got a 40 ohm load with a 50 ohm sources, you start to have reflection, meaning the power will arrive to the load, as the antenna, and be reflected back to the receiver, and goes out in heat. So it eats up more the transmitter. See, So it's part of the loss within an antenna.
Mm-hmm.
And what you see in the graph is interesting. It's part of Ion. I know as MadTech, he got a nice video about it. So we made the video, the great lines of the video together. So he based it off my blog. We can make an article about losses and VSWR. You can see in this graph that perfect SWR have 0% power that is reflected, and all the power is transmitted at whatever is the radiation efficiency of the antenna. Okay.
Right.
So you can have two antenna, one with a 2-to-1 SWR, that some say is horrible, radiate more power than one with a perfect SWR. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because an antenna with the perfect SWR may not be fully efficient. And even more so, antenna with lower efficiency tend to show up with better SWR because they absorb the power. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Because when you measure an antenna with a meter, as a VSWR meter, it sends its power to the antenna and measure what's come back. Okay, so it measures the reflection. What you want to see is no reflection at all. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But if the antenna is inefficient, it will simply turn up that power as heat and not radiation. So it won't reflect power because it goes all in heat. And you see good SWR. And you can believe that the antenna is good, but it may be not. An easy example is you may take a good antenna with a good efficiency, good and so SWR, but put it in a super long cheap cable, and you will see super good SWR because all the energy is lost in the cable and does not come back to the meter to be measured. Okay.
So, as somebody who has no freaking idea what the hell you guys are talking about, can you explain to me what SWR actually means?
It's standing wave ratio.
I googled it.
Yeah, standing wave ratio. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Like I failed science class in high school every year. So
No,
like,
I'm
yeah.
I'm frantically googling things over here.
I never used SWR in the shop because I do use S11. Okay. Yeah. SWR it feels like it's some kind of old measurement, like feet and inches. Sorry for the USA. Yeah, no. Well, it's I prefer S11 because S11 is a ratio of power.
Okay.
So you send, let's say you send 1 watt of power, and you see 100 milliwatts coming back as reflection. So 10% reflection. Okay. So you have a 9 dB return loss. Okay, a 10 dB return loss. So you sending that much power, and there's 10 times less being reflected.
Oh, wow.
So you have 90% power being
utilized
utilized by the antenna or absorbs. Whatever way you put it. So with the dB ratio, you get a ratio. So at 10 dB return loss, I got 90% of the power that's being fed to the antenna, and 10% is reflected. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So in the graph, in the image, in my little near the transient antenna, you can see power reflected in percentage. So a 2-to-1 SWR is 11.2% of the power reflected. So actually, that's very little in terms of range, because if you add a kilometers of range with a perfect antenna, a 2-to-1 will yield 940 meter. You will lose 60 meter. That's there's lots of things that make more difference than that. Yeah. So the SWR is not the key. Okay, it's not to be ignored, of course, but it's not the key to good.
Gotcha.
Not everything.
Huh.
Okay.
It's not everything.
Yeah, the pattern of an antenna, the pattern of an omni antenna, it can wiggle because of external factor. It can wiggle by 2-3 dB easily, and 2-3 dB is like it's the same as a difference from 10 to 1 SWR to perfect. So it's compared to that, the SWR is meaningless. Okay.
Okay.
It does not mean it's not important, but it's not. There's other things that can wreck your antenna way more.
Yeah. Right. But you still have to take those things into consideration, and obviously, okay, that makes sense. It's like you don't just throw it out. You don't just throw that bit of information out the window. You still take into account for it, but it's not the be all end all. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. We still measure all antenna. We measure the S11, but we measure the curve. And for example, if we test an antenna and it may have a 20 dB or 1.05 SWR across the whole spectrum, we throw away this antenna because we know it's bad. Okay, because it should have a peak like we see on the screen. The design of the Singularity is kind of narrow band, so it have a nice peak. If it doesn't, but it's still having a nice value like 1.05, it's not what it should be. That's because something is wrong. So even if the antenna will absorb all the energy, will not reflect anything, you cannot damage a powerful VTX, we will discard it because we know its pattern won't be as it should be when we designed it. Okay.
Wow.
Interesting.
Definitely a lot of work and goes into this for sure.
To make a point on a Facebook post at some time ago, I made a Singularity antenna with a small ball of aluminum paper inside. Of tinfoil.
Yep.
Of tinfoil inside. Just I fold some tinfoil, I put it inside, and I measure, and I got a good SWR out of it. But it's not really an antenna. So you can get good SWR with pretty much with lots of things. So
that's hilarious.
It doesn't.
You should release one of those antennas for April Fools or something.
Tinfoil.
Tinfoil.
The free giveaway chain, a keychain.
Some scotch tape and some tinfoil.
So if I'm reading this graph correctly, that's there. Like, what is on the left hand side or the right hand side is basically the difference between what you've lost, right? Or that shows what you've lost on the one end, or
the green line.
Yeah.
It shows the power being absorbed. So it shows all the power being reflected. So the lower the value, the lower the point of the line, the less power is reflected. So at the middle of the graph where the dip is the deepest, there's almost no power being reflected. Okay.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
If you look well on the tip of this dip, you can see it start to be wiggly, or it's not clean. It's not a clean line probably because the meter have difficulty measuring this low power being returned.
It's rounding. It's rounding numbers.
It's rounding number because it's too small to be measured, so you have difficulty. So you can see the tips is not straight. It's not
jagged and stuff.
Nomad's wondering more about what about the female parts?
Jeez Louise, Nomad.
You want to hear me say female parts, so female parts.
For HD0, some say different length and height antennas on the VRX or the HD0 goggles can make an improvement. Yeah. Would a stubby and longer singularity side by side theoretically better?
I think 2 longer antenna will be better than the stubby and the long one. Stubby is practical. It's super practical, super compact. You don't have to remove it ever. But it's, your head will make a lot of shadow to such an antenna. Okay. But an antenna that go above your head won't see as much shadow from your head.
That's why I did this.
Yeah,
I got the long ones in there.
Oh yeah. Cool. Okay.
Because I always dip my head too.
Nomad was also talking about like telling you to explain that 2 watts is not twice the power of 1 watt.
2 watts is
now we're getting sciencey.
It's 3 dB over 1 watt. Okay. Every 3 dB double the power. Okay. But if you want, what confuse people, if 2 watt won't go twice as far. Okay.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. 2 watts will go 50% farther. Okay. If you want to go twice as far, if you want to go twice as far, you need 4 times the power.
Right.
So you need 6 dB more. Right? So you need, that's the inverse square law. You need 4 watts to double the range.
It's the same with light. You should know that, Koala. And cameras.
Well,
it's the inverse square law.
Oh yeah.
Light is a radio
Twice
wave.
as much light isn't.
Light is a radio wave. Wow.
Yeah.
Never thought of that either.
Well, if you look,
I remember learning that in photography school. It's the inverse square law. Like half as much light is a quarter. You know what I mean? Like he was saying, the math goes.
Well, I think like double. ISO might play a role into that if you're talking about like camera gain and stuff like that.
But if you turn up your strobe, to 2 watts versus 1 watt, you're not getting twice as much light.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm learning so much today.
Yeah, I know. It's like I'm in class tonight.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
The wavelength of light is actually 400 nanometer. It's super small.
All move at the same speed. Wow.
Yeah, the speed of light.
That's trippy.
Oy vey. So much science.
Antenna bandwidth and tuning. Yeah, obviously that takes a lot of work to be done, but we don't have to do anything with that as a hobbyist, which is amazing. Thank goodness. We were talking about that before in chat. Imagine you had to like move.
That's because Hugo tunes them for.
Yeah,
that's because Hugo tunes them for us.
That's right.
And there's many aspects of tuning. You tune, of course, to try to get the SWR or the S11 within the frequency we use. But some antenna design, they have like more gain at area where the SWR is not as good. So you have to do trade-off between the two. Okay. And sometimes in some antenna they have better efficiency at higher frequency, but so you try to maybe put the SWR where there's less efficiency to try to mitigate the lower efficiency of the antenna at lower frequency, and then leave some weaker SWR at higher frequency because it radiates better anyway at those frequencies. So the response, the actual energy being output by the antenna is flat. Okay, it kind of compensate. Yeah.
Logarithms are hard, indeed. Kevin Sumner knows.
Wow.
Oh, so much science.
Well, you know what's funny is like, you know, the average, you know, little old FPV pilots, like I think a lot of us take for granted how much actually goes into, you know, the technology that we're using, you know, whether it's to have fun or for work or whatnot. And, you know, it's people like you that are, you know, that you're doing the hard back end work. I mean, like to me, it seems like it's a lot of hard work, but
years of work, years and years.
Like all the research, all the testing, all the, you know, all the man hours, or, you know, man or woman hours, whatever it is. Like, it's actually really incredible. Like it's, you kind of have to really kind of salute to you for putting this work in for us. Cause you know, if it wasn't for this, how are we going to get video? How are we going to control our quads? And yeah, it's really incredible, man.
Vicky.
Yeah.
We'd be flying like Hexy, only getting a kilometer away.
Oh,
too soon.
Oh, too soon.
Ooh, burn.
Oh, poor Hexy.
Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of give you a little thank you there, man. It's it's really cool to be able to chat and just get a little bit of insight and sort of hear all about this stuff. It's amazing.
For sure, sure. Yeah, I really appreciate it. We won't take up too much of your time. I know you're a busy man, but if you had any last little advice for anybody in the chat when it comes to antennas and taking care of your antennas or anything along those lines, do you have any advice for pilots or any of that kind of situation?
Well, I know some people like to, you know, tighten the antenna like super hard. That sometimes damage SMA connection more, and it sometimes when we test antenna, you can screw them like finger loose, and you get all the signal going through. So super tight is not. Besides, if you don't want to lose your antenna, because it's not better RF wise than, you know, finger tight.
I've always mine as kind of as tight as I can with my fingers, not anymore. You know?
Yeah, but not with the tool. Okay, if you
never tools.
8 millimeter range.
Yeah, you don't have to crank them down. I mean, as long as the threads are on, then, you know, like.
Well, the trick I was taught, if it's brass, you're not putting tools on it, right? Like,
too soft, right?
You can't. Yeah. Exactly. So as soon as I see brass, I'm like, no, I'm not going to use a wrench on that.
So, I've always just used a dab of glue after I put it on. Just a little dab of glue on the connector, and just that way it always stays on.
Yeah. Yeah, you can use, you know, some weak adhesive on the outside thread, because the actual energy is going in the inside face of the connector anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting.
Totally. Totally. Any new updates or anything in the works that you can give us a little tidbit on?
I recently reworked my core antenna, which is our VTX antenna. Okay. It will have a new bandwidth from 5.5 to 6.8 gigahertz.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So in the future, if you want to use it at 6.2 gigahertz, it will be it will cover this range. So yeah.
Who's at the 6.2 gigahertz range? I'm trying to remember.
Currently, nothing that I know of. There's some, you know, analog VTX that can reach it, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
But the like bolt, Teradek bolt, they are into the 6 gigahertz range now.
Oh, really?
Those. Hopefully, we may see FPV system come with such a band for the 7 gig. So our new car will reach that much. So it will be have a super wide bandwidth.
Cool. Yeah, I like the core antennas. They're really nice. Yeah, I had them a lot for my micros actually. Right on.
We will have them also available with those little tube that hold the UFL upright. So this is long overdue.
Yeah. Okay.
Them. And we will release a new patch, but it's a super long range specific patch. It's a 21 dB, 5.8 gigahertz, super long range directional antenna. Yeah.
Interesting. I was actually, somebody had a question in the chat earlier tonight about what your thoughts on the helical. The people are making, I know Falconrad makes his own helical, 7-turn or 6-turn helical. But I do the exact same, more or less, kind of spots that he flies, but I just use that MX2 Air patch antenna and a singularity. And singularity, long singularity on my drone, and that's all I use, and I get amazing range and amazing video. Like it blows me away. But again, I'm using the 3-watt VTX, but still, the signal's perfect. I don't know if I could get a better signal than that.
Yeah, MX2 Air is pretty good. Super wide beam antenna. It's not super high gain. That is, I think that is why it failed to market. Okay, because it doesn't have impressive spec. Okay, it's like, I think it was 8-9 dB, not super high, but super wide beam. But we stopped manufacturing them because there was not enough sale on them.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, maybe I will do a take 2 someday. I do have
special edition,
some
limited
design.
release.
Smaller, like our new XL that are smaller, like 30 millimeter across. Maybe I will do an MXR of that size. I do have some design on the back burner, but it's a work in progress, and it's it wasn't super popular, but it was a great antenna, and those who liked it a lot.
Yeah, that's all I use.
The white MX Air one, is that what you're talking about? Or
no, mine's the black one that I use.
Oh, I may have made some black one if possible, but yeah, it's the family of MX and MX2 Air.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So to get back to the helical antenna. Okay.
Yeah.
Helical antenna are actually a stack of antenna. So it's each own small element that you stack one in front of them. Right. And each time you stack an antenna, you create some, in the pattern, you create a bigger center lobe and more side lobe. Okay. And more and more until you get, a pretty narrow main beam and lots of fuzzy side lobe on the sides. So that's one of the drawback of the helical antenna. You can make a few turns and you get a pretty good antenna, but the more turn you add, you get less return out of it.
Oh, really?
So at one point adding 25 turn won't change anything. Okay.
Yeah.
Maximum is pretty much between 12 and 16 turn is the maximum you can actually.
Right.
Reliably. So
I ended up using the ORT ones, and they were 5-turn, and I think Falconrad uses a 6 or a 7-turn.
That's a sweet spot for helical.
Okay.
I like to design my antenna that I make, and I haven't designed a helical. I'm not the designer of the helical, so I tend not to make them. Okay. Because, if I was like, let's reinvent the helical and maybe go back on the drawing board, make a helical with a variable pitch or a variable taper or a mix of the two, and see if there is something to gain out of this. Then I would. Okay, let's see my take on the helicals, and we achieve, let's say less side lobe, better efficiency, or wider bandwidth, or whatever, and then I will make something out of it. But I will not make helical because there's still plenty out there, and I won't advance any science doing so.
Right,
Okay?
right.
It's just like, oh, let's print money, or you see what I mean? Let's just make a product for the sake of it.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe I could make them, stronger or more practical, extendable. I don't know, but I just won't make a helical just for the sake of making.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. It's not popular. It's not like something that everyone jumps on
They don't.
and is like, oh, I need two of those
good.
at least now.
They are good antenna, but they are not super practical because they extend forward.
Mm-hmm. And they're not consumables. They're not like batteries or other things like you can buy a bunch of them in a year. You just buy them once. Yeah, you're done for the lifetime.
But if maybe one day I will set up a study and try to get something more of a helical design by like I said, taper angle, different pitch as you go in the turn, changing the diameter of the wire as you go. Lots of possibilities.
A lot of variables and stuff. Yeah,
that does sound interesting.
Yeah, that's actually what I do when I design antenna. I set up a lot of variables and I try them alone or in mix, and you go forward slowly, changing, optimizing
one by one.
One by one. Sometimes it's thousands of simulation you run.
Right.
Wow.
To narrow a set of parameter within what you want to have, and each simulation can take from 5 to 40 minutes to run.
Wow.
And that's per iteration, per little variable change, times that by
serious computer.
Ridiculous amount.
It's I set up a gaming ring, so to speak. That's basically it. It's a computer with a supersized GPU. I use it's a NVIDIA RTX A6000.
Oh, like
beast computer.
It's all it's not consumer level, right?
No,
it's more
not
professional.
Level. It's Quattro.
Is it Quattro or Quadro or whatever?
It's not for gaming.
Industrial application.
It's more like for AI and
AI.
Yeah. You could do some serious video editing on that thing.
It got 48 gig of RAM.
Wow.
Holy.
I'm sure it doesn't. I'm sure it costs a pretty penny.
It's more expensive than the computer you put it in. So
for sure.
It's super practical for those bigger antenna because the bigger relative to the wavelength, the more memory you need.
Definitely.
So
Wow.
M2K in the chat had a question, and I'm trying to think: is there not a TRUERC antenna for the DJI-03? What's he asking there? I thought there was one. You make one, don't you?
Yeah, there is one that is made by Lumineer.
Yeah, I thought you had the two UFLs, though.
Yeah, it's a dual UFL. It's a 2 linear antenna wrapped around inside a single shell. So that's one made. Yeah, I do have I have lots of design on the back burner that I haven't made because I don't have time. But that is another one. I got a V antenna, dual band, 2.4 and 5.8 for the 03 that I never finished.
I would buy one.
So I use a little tube to add a little V in the top, kind of like a spoiler, so to speak. And you have two of them that you could separate or you install the way you like.
Yeah,
you had me at spoiler.
Small V and thin, so maybe not the most durable antenna because it's a bit.
I'm thinking of those cell phone antennas on limousines back in the day.
Yeah, that look at it.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I think they were for cell phones, weren't they? I can't remember.
Sounds like a job for a 3D print model.
Yeah.
There you go.
Perfect.
So it's another model that is in a bin somewhere.
Yeah. I was gonna actually. I was curious, like when you're developing or sort of like, designing or developing new antennas. Is there like a standard amount of time that you usually put into, say, like one, or is it like just totally different across the board as far as like how much time and effort you put into testing and developing and stuff like that?
Yeah, there's it depends. But let's say a customer want a custom antenna, like they want a 2.1 gigahertz singularity. It's some frequency for special use. I don't know. So I will, I have already a model of the singularity that is full parametric, so I can, redraw it just by typing, new number on the variable.
Okay.
And I do I will spend 3-4 days of simulation to narrow it down to exactly what should be.
Yeah.
And then off to a first iteration. 60-80% of the time I will be right on the money. Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
Because this model of antenna I've been making for a while, so I'm, how
to get. Yeah.
Otherwise, I will go back to the simulation, feed off of what I've measured. Okay, I'm off by, let's say, 40 megahertz. So I readjust and make a second try.
Yeah.
And that takes, let's say, 4 weeks.
Wow.
3-4 weeks maximum, because you have to wait for the PCB to arrive and some custom parts and such.
Yep.
So and
you must have an interesting garbage bin.
Yeah, it's I do have more design in the garbage bin than in the shop.
Wow.
Yeah.
People say, you have so much, good product. No, I have a lot more bad product.
Yeah. It's like a musician or like a producer or a guy who makes beats. It's like, they might be known for like 50 really good hit records or something, but they probably got like 1,000 of like really crappy ones.
Want to hear some shitty songs?
That's the ones that go on the lawyers' commercials.
Right.
You just, don't be shy of just ripping it apart and starting anew.
You never know unless you try, right?
It cannot be worse if you do a new one.
Yeah.
Well, maybe sometime, but yeah.
Yeah.
Usually, it will. If you start anew, it will be better. So I base a bit my business model on that. I iterate a lot. We do a lot of iteration. We don't spend, you don't let an antenna 2 years in designing to be perfect in the theory and then make it. No, we make it as fast as possible. Bin it and start retune it immediately to make iteration, because I know that even if I spent years designing, there were still things that will miss, that will have missed. Then when I hold it in my hand, I will say, oh, now that's kind of difficult to make, so I have to change stuff. So I know that I don't know. I know that, basically there's two types of people: those who don't know much and those who believe they do. You just apply this philosophy. Yeah, you don't know much, so just build it and see as it goes.
Figure it out as you go, and
and I try also to have this philosophy of something's perfect, not when there's nothing left to add, but when there's nothing left to remove. So you try to simplify as much as possible to get just the the core or the fundamental principle going.
Yeah. Don't need to overdo it. Just get down to the bottom line of it, and yeah.
Yeah, over engineering is something you see often that's generally not good, too complex to make, or not reliable enough.
Right.
Keep it simple as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why I fly KISS.
But it sounds like the
Anzilla.
Exactly. Because you're simple.
Keep it simple.
I didn't say that. That's just rude. Simple kind of man.
Jeez.
I came across what was it from Tropic Thunder? Yeah. Simple Jack.
Simple Jack, yeah.
I came across this really cool video once again. I think a few years ago I seen this from the channel. Not from TRUERC channel, but from what is it? Video Aerial Systems. This is back in 2015 when an antenna came out that was super popular. It was called the Horizon antenna, and this one was the dual antenna, basically. I thought it was a really cool idea. Yeah, so it has like an antenna on the top and bottom, and the
Video Aerial Systems.
The actual pole of it is flexible.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that antenna real quickly before we?
Yeah. It was one of the first, design antenna.
Yeah.
It was a wire type antenna, kind of a skew planar wheel, or a what they called it, a
flower or something.
Yeah.
Well, cloverleaf. I think we call it.
Yeah, that's the cloverleaf. So it was two cloverleaf, so to speak. Okay, and with a T and a phase network. And I don't know if you can see in his hand, the phase network, the cable is offset. It's not in the middle. Okay, because since one antenna is upside down, okay, the wave coming from it is 180 degree off phase from the other. Okay.
Yeah.
So you feed the cable offset. So you have 3/4 wave time delay on one side and a 1/4 wave time delay on the other.
Tricky.
So that reverse the wave of one antenna, so the two wave can meet at the same time and be in phase. So they kind of bump up one other over the other and become one bigger wave. Okay. There's an article on my blog called Antenna or Chimera, where I respond to the question where people want to put a T between two antenna to have like an omni antenna and directional antenna, and combines them to a super omnidirectional antenna. Okay. But you cannot do that, and explain why, because of constructive and destructive interference that happens. Okay. So when you phase two antenna, you need to take care of their distance and the delay in the lines that feeds them. So the two waves that come out of these antenna must be, exactly like this. They must be in sync. Okay. So you see, as the wave come into two elements, it produces two signals, and these must be in sync to overlap and create a bigger one. Okay. It's called constructive interference.
Okay. You double them up so you get a bigger wave, basically, right?
Yeah. So, but the drawback, if your signal come at a high elevation, then the signal are no longer in sync, and they cause destructive interference.
Oh, so you get bad signal then.
Yeah, you gain more signal in some direction, but you lose another. No free range.
Okay. No free range.
Yeah, you see I made some color in the pattern. You see the red line is where you got destructive interference, and the green spot is where you got constructive interference.
So it's only good in certain directions.
Yeah, so you'd have to really be mindful of a lot. When
spoke earlier about the helical. Helical is multiple element that each one produce constructive interference. Okay.
Yeah.
So you are phasing 6, 7, 8, 10 turns. So a little offset creates lots of destructive interference if you are not, well aligned. So it creates all sorts of side lobes because all the turns are equal, and it's not optimized to have many turns.
Right.
Because of this. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
See example here of an antenna that have no offset in the middle. It's it's symmetric. Since one antenna is upside down, then the wave is 180 degrees from the other. So this offset creates a destructive interference. So this type of antenna is not well designed.
So are you familiar with the what is it called? It's the Video Aerial Systems Mad Mushroom. Because that was one of my very first antennas, and I never actually knew what the inside of an antenna ever looked like before. And I had a bad crash, and the little, the cap kind of popped off of it. And I looked on the inside, and it's these little green PCBs or whatever or something that are kind of like, it's almost like that clover style. But I remember when I saw that, I was like, what the heck? Like this is what's in my antenna. Like I had no idea really what went into it, because I never really looked too far into it. But is that's an older style, or that's an older antenna, I think, right? The Mad Mushroom. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
The first Mad Mushroom, like in the image we saw earlier, it was a wire, like cloverleaf style. It was called the Mad Mushroom, I believe. And then they released the Mad Mushroom V2, or second generation. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like a Podogo.
Oh yeah, the V2. Yes.
Yeah, and it was made from PCB.
Exactly. Yeah.
A bit like our antenna are made. So you have a center PCB that feeds arms.
Yep.
Each arms radiate a polarization on its own. So by combining multiple polarization, you create a circular polarized array.
Yeah.
So it's a CP antenna, simply. Having 5 arms, I'm not sure why, but 4 is, more than 4, I don't see any, when you make the antenna smaller, you can remove arms. The minimum is 2. So singularity is 2 arms because the antenna is as small as possible. You only need 2 arms.
Yeah.
I recently made variant of the singularity, which is bigger to have more bandwidth, and they have 3 or 4 arms to keep an even coverage, 160 degrees. But more than 4, maybe, but I never seen that. Once you have 4, you have pretty much a good coverage all around, even if the antenna is quite large. So 5, well, maybe to solve an impedance problem. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it also gets more complicated to manufacture, and it's also less reliable, more easily broken, and everything. You start cramming everything in there.
Each arm is 2 solder points, so you get 10. Yeah.
Oh, and maybe this is like a controversial question. I don't actually know, but it is disclaimer. Everybody, disclaimer. No, I don't know. I'm just kidding. But is there rivalry between like antenna makers? Is there like a race to like who's gonna make the best one, and we're not friends, or is it like a sort of friendly competition, or?
Well, me and Alex used to be friends. See what I mean?
Yeah.
I could say, but for my part, I saw an LT competition at one point, and maybe it was not, from both sides. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's kind of bad. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't mean to like bring up anything that's like I was just genuinely curious, but
yeah, I understand. Yeah, there's a story. There's a story. Yeah, there's a story to happen. Yeah.
It's Antenna Club. The first rule of Antenna Club is don't talk about Antenna Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know,
Exactly.
nowadays GIS doesn't seem to be active as much.
Yeah.
You know, don't hear about him as much as he used to. So there's other manufacturer, and they tend to be, to copy more my work than be inspired from it. So that's sometimes, I'm human, so it makes me mad. It makes me mad.
Yeah.
Because either they copy the work, or they make, a tinfoil antenna, but they copy the listing. They copy the spec.
Yeah.
So they kind of aim your market and can confuse your market by making tinfoil antenna. Yeah. So that's frustrating.
Lying. Yeah, well, I bet.
I can kind of like totally different sort of field, but like in the creative world that happens a lot as well. Like for me, say I have a certain style in whether it's editing or a certain thing, and then you have, obviously within the whatever the genre or the market or whatever, it's like people have their own style, people do their own thing, but I can understand the frustration when you see like, oh, that's totally like looks along the lines of kind of what I'm doing. And so I definitely can relate in that regard. So, and, but yeah, that is interesting to hear. It's like within the FPV world, everyone's kind of like, we're supposed to all be friends and it's all supposed to be cool. But, and I don't mean to turn this into like a negative or weird sort of side of especially for the end here, but yeah, it is just interesting to sort of hear that, it carries over in other, not just in creative world, it can be in the antenna world, it can be in any field. Yeah.
It could be motor or props.
Car.
Happens everywhere. Happens everywhere.
Antenna tends to have lots of research in the back end.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. So then you get copied, so it kind of sucks. But one of the worst that happens to me is when I work with the Cherry, but Rush FPV. That's the name, Rush FPV. And we designed the Cherry antenna, which is with the same as the original OCP antenna.
Right. Pretty much, yeah.
And it was supposed to be a bit like Lumineer. They make the antenna and got royalty. So they use my design, they use my logo on their box and everything. But they kind of pull their rug and they just copied the design, and it made a pretty popular antenna today, it seems, and it's really shitty to see this.
Well, I guess on a more positive note, what's something that's the opposite? Like, what's something that you've done in throughout your career in this sort of antenna space or TRUERC space that you think of and it's you're super proud of and super positive about, I guess?
It's a good way to save yourself, Koala.
Yeah, I actually, honestly, I didn't even I kind of feel like a huge dick because I didn't even think it was like opening a can of worms. I just had a general curiosity.
Who would?
Yeah.
One I'm very proud of. The new Singularity 5.8. Okay, it doesn't show. I never tell anyone, but it's actually a V3 inside. Okay.
Huh.
Oh, yeah?
I went from regular, high-speed PCB to a ceramic element. Okay. So it's an LDS. LDS stands for laser direct structuring, while they design a structure with laser on a ceramic PCB, so to speak. So they can make a 3D design of copper into a fixed parts. Okay, and you simply dip that parts into a copper sludge, so to speak, and the copper attached to the places where the laser etched.
Right.
So it's a bit like making a PCB, but you can make a wild 3D form. Okay. Wow. So since about 2 years, the Singularity 5.8 I made with such technology. Okay, so it's super accurate.
That's pretty cool, man.
So every antenna is tuned the same. It's super accurate because the Singularity is super small, that make a super narrow band. So it needs to be super precise in order to be tuned to the 5.8. Just the channel that we use.
I love that antenna. I use it all the time.
Yeah. I switched over to these new parts, but I didn't go into the new V3 or whatever. I just kept it under. Yeah.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah, the Singularity. Yeah, I mean, Marcel off axis. He's the one that put me onto the Singularities. That's yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think Falconrad for long range. I think Falconrad was the one that told me he uses that for his long range. And I was like, all right, well, that's what you use for long range. That's what I'm using. Yeah. And then I just never used anything else. Just why? It's always been the same antennas. Anything I fly. So.
Well, that's why I was saying before. It's like since I switched over to TRUERC is like, and the fact that it's Canadian, it's like why would I be using anything else? Like
perfect. Work, don't fix it, or
totally. Yeah, if it ain't broke, right? Yeah.
It's the only time you have to worry about firmware on something in this hobby.
Yeah. Thank God we don't have to update our antennas. Right. Oh, can you imagine flashing those?
Firmware mismatch.
Little USB plug on the end.
Totally.
Someone asked about the Gatling antenna. Yeah.
And
someone else also asked about the most difficult antenna we made.
Oh yeah, I saw that one too. That was a good question.
I will answer the same. The both question. This was a Gatling 5.8. It was one of the most difficult to make. So it was,
from an engineering standpoint, like from building it, like
building it. Yeah, you got to phase 4 antenna together. Make a matching network for 4 antenna, super small. So it was a bit of a pain. So
1.3?
1.3 is easier because it's bigger. So the tolerance are wider. Okay. But 5.8. I made it for 5.8. It was super tight.
The Stewie downhill. That's the video, right?
Stewie used a 1.3.
It's crazy. I always thought about putting something like that on a long range. That'd be insane. Ultra long range.
Okay. Oh yeah.
That'd be so gnarly.
Those. Sorry. What frequency are those? Those aren't going to work with my.
No, those are
my DJI V2s.
So I stopped making the 5.8 because it was too much work, too much of a pain.
Too small, I guess you're saying, right?
Yeah, the X-ray, which is easier to make, it uses more expensive material, but it's you end up throwing less of them in the trash. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
So I was on that Stewie video. There's like, are they in Switzerland or?
Yeah.
I see the Swiss. I thought it was Swiss flags on the actual aircraft there. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, the Gatling 1.3 is one hell of an antenna. People are making crazy thing with it.
Yeah. It's you got to mount it on like a tripod, basically, right? Yeah. It's a big boy.
It's a big boy. Yeah. This video is
too cool.
Yeah.
Too cool, man.
When you think it's done, it just go on and on and on, and through the canyon and go on. It's incredible.
Wow.
Does that thing have a prop or is it? It's not.
No, just have model in front of it.
The EDF.
Yeah.
Oh, is this a quad? Oh, it's EDF.
Okay. EDF, yeah.
It's not a quad.
So I guess with the way that it works, like 1.3 is it's a way wider band, right? Is that
it's a lower frequency.
Lower frequency, yeah.
Lower frequency, so it travels further.
Yeah.
When we could take as when you have a wavelength of 22 centimeter, okay. Let's say any wavelength can beat up, like, I mean, let's say 1 billion times. Can have 1 billion cycle before it tapers down to not enough power to be useful. Well, 1 billion times 22 centimeter is a lot more range than 1 billion times 5 centimeter.
Yeah.
So say a lower wavelength, a lower frequency have longer wavelength, so they reach farther out just because of this physics. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, when I was talking to my one buddy, originally when I thought about building a 7-inch quad and talking about long range, the first thing he said to me was, well, man, like 5.8, what are you talking about? You want to do long range, 1.3 is kind of where it's at. Although the hardware is a lot bigger. You can't just throw that in your backpack and but
yeah, that's what I used to do. Is just like Robert said, I did have a tripod with a tracker, Gatling, and a repeater to 5.8 to my goggles, so I wasn't tied to a wire to the tripod.
That's smart.
Oh, and then 5.8 to the goggles. Oh, I see.
Well, Marcel, do you remember like a while back we saw that one video where a guy would send up like a wing that had the repeater on it, and it would just kind of like loiter around and then relay the video link. That's a pretty cool bit of technology there. That's a really cool use case. Yeah.
There used to be a lot of ground stations back years ago until everything and the hobby got better for goggles and video RXs and stuff.
Everything all got smaller.
Yeah.
And digital helps with interference mitigation.
Right.
Yeah, more antennas and
stronger wavelengths now too, and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, back in the day there wasn't like 2 watt, 3 watt, 5 watt like AKK's putting out. So well, that being said,
the rules in Canada? Don't you need a license for over 2 watts in Canada?
Yes.
All right, I think that's the end of the show, Dan.
Oh, you guys are hilarious. Thank you so much, Hugo, for being here. This was an awesome
thank you. I really appreciate
thank you so much, man. It learned so much, and I apologize again if I was a dickhead at any point there.
All good, buddy.
You get used to koala. You get used to koala.
You just brought up some bad memories that he has to.
I didn't mean to. I genuinely didn't mean to.
The next time you order antennas, he's going to give you the bad ones, the ones that didn't pass quality test.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. It's an awesome time. Thank you. We'll see you guys next week. We have Dan Z next week, so we'll be doing a little bit of freestyle. And we have a bunch of videos to catch up on. So I thank you all for being here. Once again, Hugo, thank you very much. If you guys don't know, Hugo is also supporting the FPV The City event that's coming up in September. I've got a video showcasing that. We've got a lot of sponsors, a lot of packages, a lot of prizes already in, and more coming. And look forward to some videos that are going to be coming out from that. And if you're in the Discord, there's lots of information there as well as sign up. Thanks again. Awesome. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Be safe. Happy flying. Thank you.
Much love.
Have a good night, guys.